Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming. We're going to just run through basically a few ways that you can contribute, why you might contribute, and then pose a sort of question at the end. But part of this session is also just to foreground the importance of contribution and how much it has added to the project. And also that this deck is sort of the beginnings of a better way of onboarding new people and organizations into LocalGov Drupal and sort of encourage that that contribution and enable it, and maybe acknowledge that maybe it's not been so clear before in the past. So sort of definitely part of my role as the community lead. Maria, have you shared the slide deck, or would you like to share the? Yeah, okay, cool. So there's a slide deck there. The reason for sharing that is there are some links. You might want to click on those links as you go, and we may put them in the chat as well. If you've got any questions, put them in the chat. As we go, there are some questions that we'll pose, and you're very welcome to share your thoughts on those questions. So starting off with why contribute. These reasons come from our friend Doug Belshaw, who helped out with LocalGov Drupal on the community side last year, and he poses a few. There's definitely others, and everyone might have their own reason. One reason might be just because it's a good thing to do, so that sort of altruistic sense of making the world a better place. Often it's because it's a good way of gaining skills and experience, learning from others, or doing a thing that you haven't done before or you want to learn how to do. That sense of giving back to the community, I think it's probably pretty relevant to LocalGov Drupal. So you did a thing on your website and you go, I think that's probably a thing that other people might need or want. And that's come up a lot this week. Paid work, you might be paid to do it, like me. Or various other people and organizations involved. You may also be paid through, if you're in a supplying organization, a supplier and agency, you may be paid to do work on a council website. And that is one mechanism through being paid to do that work that you can contribute back to LocalGov Drupal if you're making some kind of improvement. Fix it upstream, and then everyone can benefit. There may be political and social motivations. There may also be a desire to increase your own personal reputation and gain recognition as a human or as a company, and position yourself as a contributor to an open source project and a leader in that community, in that sector. You may, this is kind of classic dev mindset. I think you just see a thing and it's broken and it's really annoying you, so I'm going to go and fix that thing. That has happened a lot in LocalGov Drupal. It may also be that I can't imagine anybody in this call can relate to this, but you may have quite a boring day job, and so working here or doing something on the side is where you get your kicks. And finally, just the joy and pleasure of working with others and learning from new people, meeting new people. And another thing that's not mentioned here that's probably relevant is the sort of mentoring other people and gaining pleasure from doing that, and teaching other people how to do a thing. Maria, I've mentioned a little bit about the organizational stuff as well. Mine was mainly about, as a human being, why you might contribute.
So yeah, this slide is a bit more about why you might contribute as part of your organization. So either as a supplier like Agile Collective, or as a council. So to provide better service to your clients and customers, and improve the software that you rely on as a business or an organization. Improve the security of the product, improve the feature set, improve the software, reduce technical debt. It's really important. I think we all know that. The recent upgrade to Drupal 10 reducing technical debt that we have to deal with in the future, and being able to actually impact and change the future of the package. I don't know where the word package is there, product. Being able to influence where it's going. So yes, and Finn's mentioned in the chat, as a council, it's really good for your reputation, and helps attract people to work with you. And we've definitely experienced that as an agency too. People have wanted to work with us because we're involved in LocalGov Drupal. So yeah, we've got another question there. Please do add in the chat. Why does or would your organisation contribute to LocalGov Drupal? And we will update this slide deck with some of those answers.
Brilliant, thanks. Yeah, so why do you as a human and why do you as an organisation are two slightly separate things. So please do add your thoughts. So there are different routes to contribution. This is sort of getting into LocalGov Drupal specific, although often this is very common to any open source project or community. And this is basically the structure of the talk, really. So there's different routes to contribution. It's not all about code, and that's definitely the first thing I want to say. There are lots of different ways that you can contribute, and everybody's skill and experience is valuable and can add and help. So there's lots of stuff in terms of like helping the community, answering people on Slack, show and tells, providing user research or things, and sharing stuff that you've done or learnt, giving feedback to the community or people working in it. Product side, there's obviously code, issue queues, documentation, working on a specific feature, and obviously advocacy, so promoting LocalGov Drupal, talking at events, or providing case studies and sort of building that business case. And finally, obviously, there is a way that lots of organizations here have contributed, which is becoming a subscriber or funding a feature. So we'll talk a little bit about all of those things.
Is this me? So again, reiterating that we need all sorts of skills. Here are some that we found on, made a list of. So accessibility, community building, design, development, documentation, event planning for things like this, or other events that we could put on, sharing knowledge, marketing, mentoring, support, usability, user research. And there are so many ways to get involved, and if you like doing any of those things, please let's find a way to get you involved.
So yeah, I mean, the most obvious starting point is joining the community on Slack. That's where a lot of activity happens and a lot of communication, and often Slack is a place where people ask questions and go, oh, has anyone done this thing, or can someone help me with this? And people jump on and help, and that is a massive support to people. And it's a big time saver for someone who's sort of wondering how to do a thing, and the answer's there, or 3 answers are there. So asking your questions and asking and answering other people's questions is really valuable. And sharing what you're up to, what you've learned, and sharing launches. A lot of this stuff is happening. I think there's more going on that we don't know about. So we have a channel on Slack called Show Your Work, which is a place to sort of just shout about something you've done. And there's loads of different types of examples of that. In terms of like where to start and how to get onto Slack, like practically, if you're not on the Slack community, then from a supplier point of view, there's a sort of process to go through, which just starts with a simple form and then a quick chat with me, and then I'll add you. And then for councils, just if you haven't got an invite, we'll send you an invite link. So you can just drop me an email at community @, very simple. And the best places to sort of start are probably the technical channel, the content channel. So for content designers, accessibility channel, and then there's a whole other load of channels for specific features like publications, search, I can't think of other ones right now, but there's a ton of them. Yeah. So I'm not going to say too much more about Slack because I'm assuming that most people, just looking at the list, are on there. If you're not, get in touch.
What, do you want to post the email to get in touch in the chat, Aaron? Or I could do that, couldn't I?
Yeah, that'd be lovely. Thanks, Tim. Yeah. So you've just skipped on, Maria, to thanks. Thank you. We don't want to skip over the meetups. This is another really common way that people are contributing, and I think it is a form of contribution, coming along to a community meetup or getting involved in the content group meetup. There are two. There's also content and product, which is the interface for content designers to have a say on the product roadmap and prioritization and help with that. We've got tech drop-ins, which is often a way just to get some help and technical support from the core team and others in the community. And we've got Merge Mondays, which is really just a really functional, pragmatic way for people to get their pull requests merged in, if that's the right language. I can't remember it anymore. I used to know this sort of stuff. But that's brilliant. That's a really big, thriving way. And if you're wanting to get involved in code, that's the best place to start, I would say. So those sort of drop-ins, along with the GitHub and SEQ. And a big shout out to the content group, actually, which has kind of grown this year and is a really great community of practice for content designers. And if you're in a council and you have a content design team, that's a really great place to learn about how to use LocalGov Drupal in the best way, how others have done it, and then also just to learn about content design in general. So it covers all of those things, and that's a monthly meetup. I think the other thing with Luma, which is the system we're using, as you're all here, you will have used, is that we can promote other sessions. So if you're doing your own show and tells within your council and you want to promote that to the community, then you can contact me and I'll very happily add it. And the place to start is lou.mar/localgovdrupal. We'll drop a link in, but I think everyone's probably in there, but we will keep promoting that. So we'll move on to, there's two ways of sharing what you know. Obviously you could share, sharing on Slack and sharing through meetups and things, but actually sharing what you know is a really valuable contribution. That can come in loads of different forms. We know that there's user research out there that's been done, and without reinventing the wheel, sharing that research will help others. Earlier on in the journey, sharing business cases can really help. We've seen quite a lot of examples of councils earlier on wondering about other councils that have done this and whether there's a business case they can read. Similarly around procurement as well. Sharing blogs, if you're in a council or you're an agency and you're blogging and it's relevant to the community, share that through Slack, or if you're doing the week note stuff. Case studies we'll come back to, and training guides. This has come up quite a lot in the content group. So training guides that might be for SEO, might be for accessibility, might be just content design in general. All of that kind of stuff can then be reused by other councils and save people time. And Show Your Work channel is a great place to do that. There's a question for me at the moment, which is, once people are sharing stuff in Slack, Slack's not necessarily the best place to store information. So it's a question at the moment as to where we store it, whether it's on our website, whether it's a separate thing, whether it's somehow in Slack using maybe the Canvas function. There's different ways. If you've got any thoughts on that, then do drop that into the chat. So that's just one question I'm pondering at the moment. And just to acknowledge and credit two examples of that sharing from Angie and Jamie at InView. So Angie from Croydon sharing their digital content design style guide, I think. I know that was an approach to school medical form, that's right, yeah. Which involved quite a lot of their team. And then Jamie sharing what InViews did to their pen testing report on LocalGov Drupal, which I think they did earlier this year. Now, this is my favorite one. I really like feedback. I actually really like, I love being praised, but I actually get much more value out of hearing how we could do things better. And I guess the reason is that I don't know what I don't know, and we all make assumptions about how to do a thing. Often think about it really carefully, might talk to other people, but often we don't necessarily have time to check and validate those assumptions. So giving your feedback on what worked for you, what didn't work, is a really, really valuable way of making things better. So one route obviously would be, just sharing your feedback on these sessions or a community session or whatever through Luma. You could do that also just DMing me or Tim or Finn or Will, and sharing your ideas for how to do things better. Telling us when something's broken. That's happened quite a lot on the website. That's really great. We survey at various points. We try not to do that too much because people are busy. But filling out a roadmap survey or feedback on maybe LocalGov Drupal week, all of that stuff is really valuable. And similarly, engaging in polls on Slack. So if we're deciding on what we're going to do for a future session in the content group or the community meetup, all of that stuff's really valuable. And if you're not sure, I guess my question is then, as a community, how much do we want anonymous feedback, and how much, which can be an enabler and reduce the barrier to giving feedback? I appreciate that can be not always the easiest thing to do, especially if it's not necessarily positive. And whether we need an anonymous mechanism as well as non-anonymous. Personal, I guess, would be the opposite. So that is an open question. Do drop your thoughts on that. Here we go. Maria.
Okay, thanks, Aaron. I will give you feedback later.
Great.
The next section is more in the slightly more technical aspect, I suppose, and so I'm going to give a few brief. I don't know how technical everybody is on this call, so there might be some terminology that people are not familiar with, and I'll try and catch it as we go. But shout out if you don't know what a thing is and you want to know, and I'll try and explain. But one way, essential way for the open source project to move forward is to get involved in the issue queues. So the issue queues, what is an issue queue? Well, first of all, on GitHub, that is where all of our code lives, and a lot of the work happens on LocalGov Drupal. So, and within GitHub, we have a Git repository, and that contains all of our code and our files, and it also contains a revision history of all of those files. And we use within that repository, we discuss and manage all of the work on LocalGov Drupal. Within LocalGov Drupal, we have many repositories, one for each of the projects. So it can be a little bit confusing to get oriented in that space. So the issue queues is an issue is a conversation thread, really, with its unique ID, where we track ideas and feedback, tasks, bugs, things that need for work within the Git repository. And that issue can be open or closed. It can be assigned to people. It can have different labels put on it. So yes, so things basically all of our work is is in issues. So it's great if people create issues, if they read the issues that are there, comment on issues, see if you can reproduce bugs that are on issues. That's all really helpful. I'll come back to the questions in a second. So where to get started, if you're not already, create an account on GitHub. And then you can explore the repositories in our organization, the LocalGov Drupal organization. Find an issue and comment on it, log some new issues. And if you are not, you can do a certain number of things before being added to the organization, the LocalGov Drupal organization, but very soon you'll want to be within that organization. So the best way to go about that is to find Finn or ask in the group technical channel, Slack channel, and then you have a lot more permissions. And where to get help, always in the issue queues, but also you can look in the docs on GitHub themselves and on the group technical channel in Slack. The issue, in a moment, I'll do a quick demo of an issue queue, so you see some of that in practice. I'm just going to see the question we've got in Slack. Oh yeah, non-technical things we need help for.
Let's come back to that.
Yeah, we'll come back to that. Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, is that the next one? It is. Okay, code. So you can basically all of the issue queues there you can do without actually writing any code. That is, you can just review it. You don't need to be a developer to get involved in those issues, to log issues, to comment on them, to suggest better ways forward. You might at some point want to start writing code or reviewing the code and committing to the project in that form. And one of the most helpful things that you could do, and that's something we're really desperate for help with, is testing pull requests and bug fixes that people have done. So a pull request is basically a suggestion for code changes within a particular repository. So let's say I want to do a bug fix, I put that into code, I put it on a branch, and then I create a pull request, which allows people to compare the code as it was and with the suggestion. And then that can be tested to see if it does what it says it does and doesn't break anything else. And then that needs to be reviewed by someone else in the community before it can be merged in. We do have good first issue tags, which is really, Finch has pointed out, which is a really useful way to find an issue that you can start working on if you wanted to get involved with the bug fix itself. Have I missed anything? Yes, come to the Tech Drop-In or to Merge Mondays. They're two, Merge Mondays is every Monday. I can't remember how often Tech Drop-In is. In those meetings, we can help you find something to work on. We can show you around pull requests or the repositories and help get you oriented in the code base. That's there is a suggestion to have a testing working group. Stella's just asked whether we have a testing co-working slot, and that I think is really a good idea. So I'll leave that with Finn to follow up on. Okay, the docs, another way to get involved, slightly more technical, but not entirely. So we have a lot of documentation. We have a whole documentation site. That is where most of our documentation lives. There is also some documentation in each of the project's READMEs. They get out of date very, very quickly. And so we need to keep an eye on them all the time. So really appreciate it if you could let us know when things have got out of date. Even better, you can suggest changes and updates. And we do that through GitHub, because that's how we build our documentation. And you can actually fix things through the GitHub UI. You don't even need to download the code yourself. So I'm going to try and do a live demo right now and see how well that goes. How are we doing for time? I'll be okay. Okay. Tell me, can you see the doc site right now? Yeah. Okay. So
Yes.
this is the documentation site, which lives at docs.localgovdrupal.org. This is the contribution page on that site. At the bottom of every page on the doc site, we've got a link that says "Help us improve this page." If you click that, it will take you to where that lives in GitHub. I'm hoping you now see GitHub and the WYSIWYG.
Yeah.
Not WYSIWYG, but the code editor there. So basically you can make a change here. Aaron, you had a suggestion for a change that you wanted me to make.
Yeah, it's inspired by Tim. Why use 5 words when you can use 1? So I think in the last paragraph, last sentence.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's nice. Last sentence, then you can just open. You could just change that to simply open.
Okay.
I mean, Tim is probably going to disagree with me now. But
this code
or just use the word then open.
Okay. Okay, fine. Okay, we've made a suggestion. We are writing in Markdown. It's a very kind of simplified markup language. I can send a link to that, but it's fairly easy to negotiate. So we have done that. We can now press this button, commit changes, and we get given a little UI here, and it says create a new branch for this commit and start a pull request. It's got my name, my GitHub username on there, patch17, that's fine. We could add more of a commit message if we wanted to say what we were doing. We'll propose those changes. And it opens a pull request here for us. But next thing to do is to assign somebody to review it, because we can't merge this change without somebody else reviewing it. So I'm going to assign it to Aaron in this case. And we then create the pull request. The docs site then, that is quite clever. It will then give us a URL where we can go and test that. Go and see it in action. I will wait. The tests are running. It's probably failed because we're doing a live review, but usually it would, and we can go and have a look at it. That will be picked up in Merge Monday, if not before, and the team there will decide to merge it if it's been approved. Easy, huh? Okay, that's the docs. Feature development. So this is the kind of a much bigger piece of development work that you might want to do, although it isn't just for developers. We also need designers and content designers, user researchers. Everybody really can get involved in feature development. If you want to see a feature happen, it can happen, and you can be involved in it. So there are working groups ongoing at the moment. You can join one of those working groups, or you can start a new one. You can also test features. It's really helpful, like the publications working group that we heard about yesterday. I'm going to move on because we're probably running out of time. Aaron, back to
you. Yeah, so just moving on from the dev and the tech side, although docs is definitely not just dev, and in fact content designers getting involved in docs would be awesome. Information architecture suggestions and that kind of thing, making it more logical for people who use it. Getting feedback from professionals who use it would be great. But in terms of promoting LocalGov Drupal here, there, and everywhere all at once, there's different ways. There's different ways to do it. Big shout out to Michael from Newcastle, who joined me in beautiful Sunderland a couple of weeks ago, and we spoke at the the CCIN conference, Cooperative Council's Innovation Network conference, and we joined up with Open Digital Planning for a talk, and we got the main stage as well, which is amazing, a bit intimidating. That was great, and just having people, particularly councils, but not just. I think suppliers, this is totally relevant, and I know that Justine from Chicken spoke at the LocalGov camp, I think, and was there with Maria and with Finn and Will. But having councils talking and promoting LocalGov Drupal from the mouth is way better than me and people thinking I'm a salesperson, which I'm not. I'm a terrible salesperson. But I represent the organisation. Having people who use it, I think, is way stronger. So that's definitely one option. There's definitely loads of events going on. Generally shouting about it to your other councils in your network. So if you're in a county council and you may be working with smaller boroughs, etc., and just promoting LocalGov Drupal there. I think that does happen. We know it does happen. Doing that more is always good. Similarly, just following us on the socials. So LinkedIn's probably the main one at the moment. Twitter, I mean, that icon, I couldn't even find X. I couldn't, I haven't got time for that. So we're definitely less using Twitter than we were. But reposting on LinkedIn and then us piggybacking on that definitely sort of builds up that sense of growth and momentum. We've also obviously got a YouTube channel where all of these videos will be very soon. There's not much more to say on that, I don't think. So we can move on to a similar aspect, which is writing case studies. And I think this might be work that happens naturally in an agency, and it might do in a council. There might be a project write-up and that kind of thing. If that is the case, then we'd love to be able to put some of those case studies on the website, and obviously credit the organisations involved. Clearly, we've got 3 at the moment, and they've been there quite a while, so we haven't had any for a year or maybe more than that. But I know from talking to councils who are joining, they often want to learn about the journey and the experience of councils through procurement, and how they got the skills that they needed, and the approach to research and design and development. All of that stuff is really valuable to others and helps sort of build up that library of examples that other people can go and have a look when they're in the sort of evaluation stage or early on. And Tim's usually the best person is the comms lead, the best person to get in touch with about that. hello@localgovdrupal.org, or you can DM him on Slack, maybe. Maria.
Either's fine.
Okay, great.
The last two slides we have are the finance-y ones, ways that you can help fund LocalGov Drupal and its development. So you can fund or co-fund a feature. There's been quite a lot of chat recently about the potential of co-funding features. I'm not sure if Will's here, but he was talking about it yesterday as well. If you want to see a feature being developed, you can help fund it either directly or with developer time, and get that onto the roadmap. The best place to start is to probably talk to Will, product lead, about how to get going. But you could also talk to Ryan at Hammersmith and Fulham if he's got any time left, about how that work's gone on the publications working group, because they've done that really successfully recently. And finally, you can become a subscriber. So councils and suppliers can become a subscriber, pay an annual fee to help develop and support the LocalGov Drupal community and product. The fees are based on the size and budget and turnover of your council or supplier, so it's graded according to the size of your organisation. And there are a lot of benefits, and you can read more about them on the LocalGov Drupal website. But we really, 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 now I'm speaking with my Open Digital Cooperative hat on, we really, really are so grateful to all of the organisations who do support the LocalGov Drupal project in this way. So if you would like to talk about becoming a subscriber, email community@localgovdrupal.org. I think that's Aaron, or you can book a call with him to find out more. It's a very good question, Karen. Can an individual support too? Yeah, call Aaron. I'll call you to talk about that soon.
Yeah, she's actually messaged me. But yeah, I mean, when we talk about subscription, it's any level that we've got. You know, people with their own. I don't know if they're sole traders or they've got their own company who've joined as subscribers. So that's sort of content designers, particularly a couple of examples. Not only user researcher, and that's an option all the way up to large agencies turning over millions of pounds. So both are relevant, and it's a sliding scale, so it's not one fee for everyone. So just to sort of throw an idea out there, and there's one. This is just one that I wanted to just share with people. It's been around for a while, and this was a suggestion from Doug in the discovery and research we did last summer, which was how to encourage more contribution, and often that's through receiving recognition. So that's one way. And this is one of the areas that he's spent a lot of his professional career working on, which is open badges, which are verifiable digital artifacts that evidence a skill or achievement and are shareable across the web. It's the kind of thing that LinkedIn have really started or wanted to do or are doing. But obviously with LinkedIn, it's a bit of a platform locked in thing, whereas open badges is more much more shareable across the web and not just a LinkedIn thing. There's different reasons for doing this. I think one is providing evidence of the type of community and culture that we want to create or that exists, but also providing evidence of people's contribution or an organization's contribution. I think both are relevant for different reasons. One might be a sort of career thing, and one might be much more maybe marketing communications for the organization, or just generally, PR is the right word in this context, but generally, good brand and just showing your support and actually that you're actually doing things and getting recognition for what you've done and what you are doing. And there's so many people that have done that, and I would love to find a way to show that and demonstrate it, make it visible. There are different platforms. The one that we're looking at the moment is Badger, which I think has been renamed, but essentially there's different versions, and there's an EU one that we're looking at. And there's different ways to issue a badge. So it could be LocalGov Drupal issuing it to a person, and that could be for membership of a group or some type of activity. There's claiming, so that's often where you've got some sort of achievement and you've hit 10 merged pull requests. And the other way is peer-to-peer issuing. So one person in the community can say, I want to give a badge for this to this person because they did a really awesome thing. Questions at the moment for me are around capacity, working part-time, and managing that system on top of the other stuff I'm doing or we're doing, and also how to show recognition, how to show contribution at an organizational level as well as an individual. I think there's a case for both, and that's just some of the sort of challenges at the moment that I'm looking at. And to be honest, recently, this week and other things have taken priority. So I'm hoping once this is over, it will be something I can look at. But the other thing is this what people want? Is there a driver to do it? Otherwise, it's not worth it unless people feel like this is valuable. But we can pilot that and test it and see what people think. But do share your thoughts in the chat. That's the end of the talk. We've got a couple of minutes, and there were definitely questions. Maybe we could go back to Stella's because it was a really good one, Maria.
Yes, Stella, do you want to ask it, or shall I ask it for you?
I have to remember what it was now.
You were asking, is there a place to find
Yeah.
out what technical,
So I just
non-technical
know
things?
like sometimes it's quite daunting for people to get involved in a community, especially if they're not focused on the technical or the code-based stuff. And it's, you've said that you need help with documentation, and you actually show the issue queue for documentation afterwards. But what about the other things like the training guides you mentioned? Is there a way for people who can just go find out a way to get involved and start, rather than going, I want to get involved, but how? Where do I start?
Yeah, I think that on that point about training guides and that kind of thing, it's something that's come up a lot in the content group. So I would say one of the easiest ways to start, this is why I put the meetup stuff at the beginning, is coming along and talking to people and sort of just starting to get a sense of what's going on, and also going with your own requests and needs. So it sort of depends, obviously with a supplier, you might be in a more of a position to provide. And on councils, you might be more wrestling and grappling with stuff, or going, oh, does anyone have this thing? Both of those things are great, and coming together in those groups is a really good start. So the training guide stuff has come up quite a lot in the content group, for example, along with like design systems and how you're doing this, and various other stuff. So that's definitely one way. And I guess you're asking, which is something I need to take away, which is how can me as a community lead or us like Finn or whatever, how can we sort of show that what the sort of outstanding needs are, or things that you can provide, but a bit more clearly and concretely.
It's also a bit of, I don't want to say spoon feeding, but people just sometimes need a place to start, and a bit more guidance on, rather than get involved in documentation, but where they just need a bit more hand-holding to get started, I think.
So I think that's where this, a form of this deck, I think is sort of what I'm thinking. So something a bit more practical. So it might be that, and so this is just a suggestion to anyone. If you want to help make a sort of onboarding or contribution deck useful, and I think what you're saying, Stella, is sort of getting down to like, this is the first thing you could do. Try that, which is a little bit like what Maria was saying with the issue queue. Is a starting point would be go in, have a look at an issue, add a comment, and that's, or create a GitHub account, and that's a starting point. I think making that more obvious and easy is a job that I need to do. For sure. Finn mentioned Drupal ladder, which is a concept of like starting at the easiest thing and then working your way up, and as a way of increasing confidence and ability in contribution. So that's sort of an approach we can take with this kind of stuff.
Yeah, maybe doing like co sessions where complete newbies are encouraged to come and just find out where people are, and like you say, still handhold them, just work together to get people up to the next level, whatever that step is.
Yeah.
Let's look at that, definitely.
And there was talk a while ago, we haven't done it on the docs, on documentation, for example, which is just having a monthly documentation session. People come and just co-work together, fix a few things on the docs, updates and docs, that kind of thing. But coming together is a nice way of doing it. Was there anything else? Tim, you might have been trawling through questions. I
think we're running over time now, so yeah.
We're running out of time. Okay, let's wrap up. Thanks, everyone. This is great. So if you've got any more thoughts, any ideas, and you want to just share it, then feel free to DM me on Slack. And I will happily have a chat, either on Slack or on a call. Really open to any ideas for like enabling this and making it better. If you've got thoughts specifically on like the badges and open recognition, very open to hearing. I'm definitely at the learning stage of that stuff, but I'm really interested to hear what people think about it.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Aaron and to Maria, for running that really great session. I hope people found it useful and it's a bit clearer why and how to contribute to the project. And thanks also for everyone's comments. There's some great comments in there, and we'll try to take these into consideration as we take the work forward. Thanks everyone for coming. There's lots of sessions this week. Aaron, maybe you could post the link to Luma in the chat. Please do go and sign up for some more. And please do give us feedback on this session. You'll receive an email sometime today when it's finished. Thanks again to our sponsor, Home Connections. And that's it from us. Hopefully we'll see you again later in the week. Thanks again to Aaron and Maria. See you soon. See you at the AGM this afternoon, possibly.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for coming.